Hello Wolfpack, welcome back to another video on Bitcoin. I've got a few things I want to talk about here today, all of which are relatively new besides one or two of them, which I talk about quite often, but they are compelling. And I want to talk about first and foremost the Crypto Academy course before I even get into the video. The Crypto Academy course is releasing in 24 hours, which means you have 24 hours remaining to take advantage of the pre-order sale. We have, covering everything in this course in 10 units, from basic technical analysis, market patterns, indicators, candlestick patterns, how to trade with a profitable mindset, advanced risk management. Literally every single thing you can think of is covered in around 80 videos and around 400 slides with 8 worksheets and a trading diary. This is the most extensive course, and we don't ramble too. This is filled with action-packed information that you're going to be using at all times in your trading lives here. So if you're interested in this course, 24 hours until the pre-order sale ends, you can still purchase after the 24 hours. Obviously, the course will be released. However, if you want to take advantage of that sale, you've got 24 hours remaining. Without further ado, let's get into the Bitcoin video. So Bitcoin is still holding that support zone. If we zoom out here, we can see that green support box coming from 28.9K to 30K that we've been holding since January is still being held. And I know some people would think, well, how is it being held if we had that massive wick to the downside? The answer to that is we haven't closed below it, right? We only had a wick below it, and we had a long downside wick, which actually suggests a reversal point. And so Bitcoin is technically within a reversal pattern right now. However, the only reason why it's not reversing is because it hasn't broken one above the critical resistance at 31K. 31K is the short-term critical resistance on Bitcoin. If we zoom out, we can see that's also a critical support that we've recently flipped for resistance. So now we're wedged between two kind of major areas. We're wedged between 28.9K and we're wedged between 31K. Those are the two areas we need to be looking at on Bitcoin. If we move into the shorter term, what we can see as well is that if we draw in 31K here, we can see that Bitcoin is actually in some sort of inverted head and shoulders pattern. Okay, and the inverted head and shoulders pattern is finding both horizontal resistance from 31K and diagonal resistance from the neckline of that inverted head and shoulders pattern. Let me draw it out to you there, and you can see that. So as of right now, if we close above 31K, the short term is going to be quite bullish for Bitcoin, in which we might be seeing a bounce to 33K or possibly even higher than that. Until we close above 31K, we're in a bit of a neutral standpoint. We're sitting on support. We're kind of not really sure what's going to happen next. Breaking above 31K would send us straight up to 33K and possibly a little bit higher and trigger a next dead cat bounce. Now, I suppose the question we have to ask ourselves is there a potential chance that the bottom is in for Bitcoin? I would argue, as someone who's been correct with my Bitcoin prediction since November, right? I said 24K in November. You can go and fact check me on that. 60K, I said we're going to 24K. We reached that target. As someone who's been correct in that prediction, I would say that Bitcoin has not bottomed out yet. And I'm going to tell you why in a second, right? There are multiple pieces of evidence to suggest that it has not bottomed out yet. Firstly, we have this chart here on Bitcoin, the weekly chart. In fact, I want to start somewhere different. Let's start over here on the other weekly chart on Bitcoin. The Gaussian channel has only flipped red 3 times in the entire price history of Bitcoin. As you can see, the Gaussian channel is this green and red trend line here, or indicator. You can see waving through the price action. Now, it's only flipped red 2 separate times in Bitcoin's entire history, both of which were preceding a 50% correction on Bitcoin. The Gaussian channel will be flipping red in about a week, right? Generally speaking, the last 2 times we've seen it, the only times in Bitcoin's history we've seen it, we see a continued correction when that flips red. That will be happening in a week, and hence there's evidence to suggest that we don't even go down more, but we go down more very soon. Now, moving on from this, we can also bring up the Bollinger Bands on the weekly chart, and we can speculate about a potential dead cat bounce, which lines up with the daily chart and how we're holding support on the daily chart currently. Now, what we can see is that the last time, this is 2015, by the way, or 2014, we saw for the first time a weekly candle below the Bollinger Bands right here, and we saw a dead cat bounce region before we came down for that second drop, right? Now, we saw the same thing in 2018 during the correction. We saw a close below the Bollinger Bands, and we saw a little dead cat bounce over about a week and a half period before the rest of the drop started to occur. Okay, so this is pretty interesting here. Now, obviously the Bollinger Bands, you know, when you're closing below the Bollinger Bands, when you're on the downside of the Bollinger Bands, it represents being dramatically oversold. I understand that. And that is why I'm bringing up this indicator now in relation to the other trends. We will be closing a weekly candle in 18 hours. Most likely it will be below the Bollinger Bands. Who knows though? And if it is, there is evidence to suggest not only from the way the Bollinger Bands reacts to situations like this, but also from the historical trend that we might be seeing at least a week and up to a few months of dead cat bounces before the next leg down. As you guys would know, I have a 4-year cycle theory that predicts we go to the 200-week SMA by November to December. It is only May, and so it wouldn't be completely illogical to assume that we have some consolidation left on Bitcoin to do. Who knows, right? It's just a theory. At the same time though, there are multiple indicators that are predicting that the bottom will be in much sooner, possibly before July, right? That's pretty interesting, okay? Because that's very soon. And a 21K bottom before July, it's very compelling to say the least. Now, moving on to the 3-day chart, which is a piece of evidence for this, what we can see on the 3-day chart is death crosses, right? A death cross between the 50-week SMA, the 50 SMA and the 200 SMA. It's only happened in 2014 and 2018 on 2 separate occurrences ever in the entire history of Bitcoin, okay? Both times it happened during or before a 50% correction on Bitcoin. We will be seeing a death cross on Bitcoin in 18 hours on the 3-day chart, as you can see here, and we've already started the correction due to that. Some people would say, oh, well, why are we correcting before it even happened? Because you can tell it's going to happen, right? Why does the price move up in a financial market? Why does the price move down in a financial market? Because people are buying and selling. People are buying and selling with the knowledge that this is going to happen in the past, and that's why we've seen the correction start to happen before it's even played out. It's a lagging indicator. And so that's a piece of evidence to suggest that, well, as we saw in 2018, look, when that happened in 2018, we bottomed out only 2 months after it occurred. In 2014, we did the same thing. We saw the death cross, we bottomed out only about a month and a half after it occurred. And so if it was to happen right now, tomorrow, we would be bottoming out within the next month and a half, which would be before July. And so with that said, and moving on to the other chart, which is this chart here, the weekly chart, there is a lot of evidence stacking up that we might be seeing a Bitcoin bottom before July. In a time when government regulation constantly threatens crypto investors, being able to access an exchange without KYC being mandatory is absolutely exceptional. This is great for me personally as an Australian because a lot of other exchanges out there like Binance don't allow me to access options due to Australian regulation. BitGet additionally is also host to trading fees even lower than the vast majority of the major exchanges at just 0.2% per trade. Sign up to BitGet using my referral link in the pinned comment below or the description box and you will receive up to 153 USD deposited into your account as a reward. Looking here at the weekly chart here on Bitcoin, obviously it's the Bitcoin chart, the weekly chart here on Bitcoin, we can see a trend revolving around the 50-week SMA, the 75 SMA, and the 200-week SMA. Every time the 50-week SMA is crossed underneath the 75-week SMA, we have seen on that very point the bottom on Bitcoin. That will be happening in about 1 to 2 weeks, either in 18 hours or in the next weekly candle close, which means that we could be seeing a bottom on Bitcoin within as close to 1 to 2 weeks from now, or as far as say 2 months, right? There's a very close, tight kind of price range here and date range that we're looking at here for Bitcoin for the bottom. Now, I don't know if these are my predictions per se, but they are what the charts are telling us. And moving forward onto something like the monthly chart now, we can see that the monthly RSI at 44, right? 44 on the monthly RSI, which is this red line in the monthly RSI, has been the macro bottom indicator both in 2019 and in 2015. And we're at 47 right now, which means we only need to move down a little bit further to reach the macro bottom on the monthly RSI after having a breakdown from a 21 EMA, which is obviously a dramatic, massive breakdown for Bitcoin because every time it's happened, we've seen a 50% correction. Every time we've jumped above it, we've seen a 200% gain minimum. So massive resistance line there, a support line in the RSI, I should say. And if we're saying that, for example, for argument's sake, Bitcoin's going to be bottoming out within 2 months, which there's lots of evidence for at this point, that would line up with how close we are on the monthly RSI to reaching the 44 suspected bottom, right? So before I move on with the rest of the video, let's talk about the not the Crypto Academy, Wolves of Crypto membership. So I have a membership on my YouTube channel now. You can go to my YouTube channel page, click join, and you'll get access to 3 to 4 trading signals per week. You'll also get access to a 2-hour video filmed in 2021 on market psychology, as well as loyalty badges and stickers. We've got about 100 members in there now. Posted the first trading signal yesterday, and it's going very well so far. The members are very pleased so far, and I'm excited to give them more content, quite frankly. We usually had this on Telegram. We've flipped it over to YouTube, builds more community engagement, and it gives you nice little, tokens to display your loyalty with, like nice little badges and stickers and things like that. Go ahead and check that out. It's only 40 AUD a month, which works out to be at about 28 USD a month. But without further ado, I'm going to go back into the rest of the video here on Bitcoin. So now that we've established a few pieces of evidence here to suggest that, hey, yeah, Bitcoin could see a little dead cat bounce here. Okay, fair enough. But, the chances are Bitcoin will be bottoming out, according to the current trend, within the next 2 months. That's just what it's telling us. That's not my opinion. That's what the chart is telling us right now. Obviously, there is something that complicates that a little bit, the recession. Okay, the US economy, the United States of America, and frankly, the globe right now is in a recession, or at least entering the early phases of a recession. We have not seen Bitcoin survive. We have not seen Bitcoin around even. It hasn't actually existed during any singular recession. And so it's kind of a question mark as to how it's going to react. We don't know how it's going to react. Is it going to break below the 200-week SMA for the first time? Now, if we go to the weekly chart, we can see that Bitcoin has never actually broken a weekly candle below this green line. This is a 200-week SMA. Is the recession going to be the driving force to break that trend? Who knows? I have established in multiple videos before that there is a strong possibility. Okay, I don't think it's the most likely scenario, but there's a decent possibility that Bitcoin will bottom out at 12 to 14K. Again, I'm going to stick with my original target, the 200-week SMA. I think Bitcoin will bottom out at the 200-week SMA. However, I am open to the idea of a 12 to 14K Bitcoin due to the recession. We just can't predict that because we need to invest with the trend, and the trend is we bottom out on the 200-week SMA. So at this point, I'm compelled to believe that Bitcoin will be bottoming out in 2022, most likely within the next 2 or 3 months at the 200-week SMA, right? That's what I'm most likely to believe, or what most compelled to believe due to the charts right now. However, I can be certain of a few things. That's speculation. I can be certain of a few things, or at least close to certain on a few things. So long as Bitcoin is trading below 38K, the bottom is not in, okay? I know it sounds ridiculous to say, but that's just how it is. That is the invalidation point for this move, right? The bottom is not in so long as we are trading below 38K, or at least we cannot believe the bottom is in so long as we are trading below 38K. You would ask, what is at 38K? Well, 38K is a very critical region in terms of a 200-day SMA, which is going to be trending down towards that region in the future. The Ichimoku cloud is at 38K. The Gaussian channel is heading towards 38K. The bull market support band, the 75 SMA, and the center line of the Bollinger Band is recently dropped below 38K. There are multiple indicators there, and then also if we're flipping over the weekly chart, we can see the 50-week SMA is near that region as well. Multiple indicators to suggest that 38K is the highest Bitcoin can possibly go without flipping into a bullish trend. So again, I say to you, all right, as long as we are below 38K, we are bearish on Bitcoin and we are expecting a lower bottom. That is what we can be certain of. Now, there is speculation as to when we will bottom. Again, due to the charts we've looked at today, and according to the charts we've looked at today, within the next 2 or 3 months. Due to the 4-year cycle, before December. So it's a bit of a vague speculation. I would lean towards it being sooner rather than later. And moving on, we can kind of see this playing out. This is a fractal, this yellow fractal here, from the 2014 to 2015 drop, right? We can apply that to the current drop, which we're seeing right now, and we can see that's very, very similar. It happened very, very quickly, and it was done very, very quickly. We are in that major capitulation event, just like in 2015. Here's the 2018 fractal, this pink fractal. Very, very similar. It started very quickly, and it ended very quickly. This whole entire capitulation event in both 2015 and 2018 was begun and finished within 3 months. We started this capitulation event on Bitcoin, right, on April 19th. Depending on how you measure it, it's subjective. Honestly, you could say you started it on 29th of March. Who knows, right? If you measured it from 29th of March, it'd be like that. If you measure this from 29th of March, it'd be like that, right? The point is, according to this trend, we are coming towards, the expected time frame of the capitulation event, coming to an end, right? So multiple pieces of data. I know I'm covering the same points here, but I'm kind of freestyling this a little bit. Multiple pieces of data suggesting that this drop will be done within the next couple of months. The 4-year cycle is the only piece of data remaining that would say this drop will be extending towards the end of 2022, and that is supported by the recession. So I'll leave it to you guys to decide which one you want to believe in. Personally, I'm undecided at this point. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen. What I can say is that the bottom is not in, and what I can say also is that so long as we remain above 28.9K, we are on support on Bitcoin, and we can expect dead cat bounces. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.